All right, get ready, because we are diving head first into ancient Rome today
We are.
for a deep dive into a goddess, a queen, a protector,
This is going to be good.
maybe even a little bit of a diva. We're talking about Juno.
Oh, Juno.
You know, when you hear the name Juno, you might think, oh yeah, Jupiter's wife. But she was way more than just the woman standing beside him.
So much more. What's really interesting is how deeply connected to everyday Roman life Juno was. I mean, people worshipped her like as the protector of marriage,
Mm.
childbirth, and even, get this, the Roman state. She was like Rome's ultimate matron, right? The figure who shaped their destiny, especially for women.
Okay, so we've got all these sources in front of us. Myths, history, even some stories about, shall we say, her fiery personality. Where do we even start with a goddess this powerful?
Well, we've got to start with her place in the Roman pantheon, right? Think of it like, imagine Roman mythology as this grand royal court. You've got Jupiter, you've got Juno, the king and queen, the ultimate power couple.
Okay, like the Beyonce and Jay-Z of ancient Rome, but with more of, should we say, divine drama?
Exactly, exactly. And understanding how they work together, that's how we'll understand Juno. Let's be real. Being married to Jupiter, who's basically the Roman Zeus,
Not easy.
couldn't have been a walk in the park,
Especially with his track record, let's just say he wasn't exactly known for his fidelity.
to put it lightly. And that's where we get Juno's legendary jealousy.
Makes sense.
But it's important to remember, this jealousy isn't just some personal vendetta. It shows her role.
Yeah.
She's the protector of marriage, of their whole moral order.
So it's not just her ego, it's about protecting those sacred bonds. Right. I could see why she wasn't afraid to lay down the law, maybe literally.
Absolutely. Don't forget, in ancient Rome, marriage wasn't just a private thing between two people. It was the foundation of their entire society. And Juno, she took that seriously. She was the protector.
And that makes her different titles even more interesting to me. Our sources mention Juno Lucina, Juno Moneta, Juno Regina. It's like she had a title for every hat she wore. What do those even mean? How do they connect to her different roles?
Those epithets, they're like these little windows into each part of who Juno is. Take Juno Lucina, for example. That name connects her to childbirth. Women would pray to her, hoping for a safe delivery.
That is so important, especially back then when childbirth was so risky. It's like she offered comfort, like a sense of protection for mothers and their babies.
Exactly. And then you've got Juno Moneta, which might sound a little familiar.
Hold on, moneta,
Yeah.
money. Is that just a coincidence?
Not even a little bit. The word money actually comes from moneta. They
Yeah.
even had the Roman mint in one of Juno's temples. Talk about financial stability, right?
Wow. So we've got the goddess of marriage, childbirth, and a balanced budget. That's amazing. He really was a part of every aspect of their lives.
Oh, absolutely. And then there's Juno Regina, Queen Juno, which really shows she's not just Jupiter's wife. She's the protector of Rome itself.
Okay, so now we have this powerful goddess, protector of marriage, protector of childbirth, and protector of Rome, with, shall we say, a little bit of a jealous side. What story really shows us this whole potent mix of power and, let's call it, divine intervention?
Oh, there are so many. But if you want to see what happens when you get on Juno's bad side, you have to hear the story of Io. This one has it all. Jealousy, transformation, even a hundred-eyed giant.
A hundred-eyed giant. Okay, you have my attention. I need to hear this. Tell me everything.
So we've got Io, this beautiful priestess, and of course Jupiter notices her. Surprise, surprise, he's not exactly known for his loyalty.
Yeah, Jupiter and fidelity, not exactly a match made in, well, anywhere.
Exactly. Now Jupiter knows better than to just confront Juno head on, so he tries to be sneaky.
Okay, so what's the plan? He tries to hide Io away, maybe on some far-off island, or disguise her as one of his temple guards or something.
You're getting closer, but Jupiter's solution is a little more, well, let's just say he turns Io into a cow.
A cow. That's his big plan. Like Juno wouldn't notice that.
Juno sees right through it, obviously. She knows exactly what's going on, but she plays it cool, acts like she has no idea. She goes up to Jupiter and demands the cow as a gift.
Oh, this is classic.
Yeah.
So what does Jupiter do? He can't exactly say no to Juno.
Nope, he's terrified of what she might do, so he hands over Io the cow. But Juno's not taking any chances. She's still suspicious, so she gets Argus Panoptes involved.
Wait, who's Argus Panoptes? Is that another one of Jupiter's friends?
Let's just say Argus is a giant with 100 eyes. Juno gives him one job, guard Io, And make sure Jupiter can't get anywhere near her.
100 eyes. Talk about having eyes everywhere. I guess that's what happens when you're the queen of the gods. But it's Jupiter, right? He's probably already thinking of a way out of
Oh,
this.
absolutely. He sends his messenger, Mercury, the god of trickery. Mercury's whole thing is being clever, and he comes up with a plan. He tells Argus all these long, boring stories until all 100 of those eyes fall asleep.
I can only imagine what kind of stories those were. So with Argus out of the picture, Io is free.
Free for now.
You're making it sound like this isn't over. And knowing Juno, she probably doesn't just forget about this whole thing. Not when it comes to Jupiter's extracurricular activities.
You're right. Juno doesn't let things go easily, does she? And her revenge, let's just say it's the stuff of legends. She sends a gadfly after Io.
A gadfly. You mean like one of those annoying biting flies? That's her big revenge.
Oh, it gets worse.
Okay.
Imagine being Io. You were just a priestess minding your own business. Now you're a cow on the run, constantly being bitten and chased across the world by this relentless fly, all thanks to Juno.
Okay, yeah, that's a bad time. Poor Io. But it makes you think this whole story, it's intense, right? It really shows how terrifying Juno's anger could be. But it's more than just that.
It is, isn't it?
Like if we look closer, it's not just jealousy or vengeance. It's about how important justice was to Juno. Upholding oaths, protecting marriage. Those were serious things.
Right, and that's what makes Juno so compelling, isn't it? She's not just some jealous wife. She's a symbol of order, this guardian of Roman values, especially in a world where, let's be honest, Jupiter was running around doing whatever he wanted.
It's giving very much, if Juno had a Twitter account, it would be full of all the receipts kind of energy.
Speaking of messy situations, our sources mention Hercules, and I have a feeling he wasn't exactly Juno's favorite person.
You're catching on. Remember what we said about Jupiter and his wandering eye?
Oh, yeah?
Hercules was one of the results. And let me tell you, Juno's dislike for him, it started even before he was born.
Now that is holding a grudge. What did she do? Turn him into a cow, too.
Thankfully, no more cow transformations in this story. But Juno, she tried to stop Hercules from being born. Even sent snakes to kill him when he was just a baby.
Wow. Tough look for Juno.
And when that didn't work, well, she came up with those 12 labors, basically made sure his life was miserable. Talk about a vengeful godmother. Those labors were no walk in the park. So clearly Juno's anger was just as legendary as her husband's infidelity. But it's like these myths, they show us something deeper about Roman society, don't they?
What are you thinking?
Well, on one hand, you have Juno, right? She represents order, tradition, being faithful. But then you've got Jupiter, the king of the gods, and he's constantly going against all of that. It's like these stories, they're their way of dealing with those contradictions.
That's an interesting thought. You think it's their way of acknowledging that even their gods weren't perfect, that they made mistakes, got jealous, got even.
Right, like they're saying, yeah, our God's imperfect. They mess up, they get mad, and maybe that's part of life.
It definitely makes these stories more interesting, doesn't it? It's not just black and white, good versus evil. It's more complicated, more real. But before we get too deep into Roman morality, we can't forget about another one of Jupiter's love interests. This one's name was Semele. And trust me, this story, it's a wild ride.
Oh, I am ready for another wild ride. Bring on the drama. Who was Semele, and how did she end up on Juno's bad side?
Semele, she was a princess, a mortal woman, and like a lot of others, she caught Jupiter's attention.
Of course he did.
And for a while, it really seems like Jupiter was smitten with her, completely taken with Semele.
Okay, so Jupiter's in love, or at least, whatever Jupiter's version of love is. But we've seen this movie before, haven't we? Where does Juno come in?
Oh, Juno knows what's up. She always finds out, right? But this time, she decides to try a different tactic. Instead of, unleashing her fury, she puts on a disguise, pretends to be this harmless old woman.
Okay, so she goes undercover. Kind of love it. It's like, keep your friends close and your husband's lovers even closer.
Exactly. So Grandma Juno, she goes and befriends Semele.
Oh, this is good.
And she acts concerned, starts planting these little seeds of doubt in Semele's mind, like, are you really sure about this Jupiter guy? If he really loved you, wouldn't he want to show you his true self?
That's such a classic move, playing on those insecurities. But does Semele buy it?
Unfortunately for Semele, she falls for it. Hook, line, and sinker. She gets it in her head that she needs proof of Jupiter's love. So she goes to Jupiter and begs him to show her his full glory, his divine form.
Oh, no, that's never a good idea when it comes to gods. Hasn't she heard what happened to Io? Did no one warn this woman about what happens when you ask a god for favors?
It seems not. And Jupiter, maybe he's blinded by love, or maybe he just can't break a promise. He agrees to it.
Oh, no.
And well, just like Juno planned, seeing a god in his full power, it's too much for a mortal to handle.
So that's it for Semele. Just gone.
It's a tragic end, yeah. Semele is consumed by the sheer power of it all. But there's a twist. Jupiter actually manages to save their unborn child, Dionysus, and he sews him into his thigh, protects him until he's ready to be born.
Wow. Okay, talk about a dramatic entrance. So Semele's gone, but her story continues. It's like, even in death, she's still caught up in this divine soap opera. It's interesting, though. Juno's actions, as much as I hate to say it, they kind of accidentally lead to the birth of Dionysus.
Exactly. It goes to show you, these myths, they're never simple. Human desire, God's meddling in everything, the consequences of going after power, they all get tangled up together.
It makes you wonder, are the gods listening? Maybe a little lesson for us mortals. Don't make Juno mad. Okay, but seriously, these stories, even the ones with all the revenge and tragedy, they really give us a peek into what the Romans believed.
Absolutely. Juno, her actions, they might seem extreme to us, but for her, it all came down to her values. Oaths, protecting marriage, maintaining order. She's like this representation of the ideal Roman woman, strong, completely devoted to her family and her city.
She's a protector, a queen, a force of nature, a defender of women. And let's not forget, she managed to handle a budget, which is more than I can say for myself.
That's for sure. You know, Juno reminds us that these goddesses weren't just background characters in these stories. They were powerful figures in their own right, with their own wants and desires, their own flaws. And Juno, she really embodies all of that, all those complexities of being a woman, of having power.
And she shows us that a little bit of jealousy, well, maybe a lot, never really goes out of style.
That's one way to put it.
But really, what have we learned today? Juno, she's more than just Jupiter's wife, right? She's a reminder that these myths, they're still relevant. They still have something to say about us, about how we see love and betrayal and power, even today. So next time you're reading a story about a scorned lover or thinking about the balance of power in your own life, maybe think about Juno. She might just have something to teach you.
She just might.
That's all the time we have for today's deep dive. Until next time, happy exploring.